think we see Willis coming up.
Anthony for three. Bang! Slicing, dicing right there. Swooping, hooping.
Houston ducks under. Got it!
Jeremy Lin does it again.
Johnson now fires a three. And it's good! And he's fouled!
7 feet from Georgetown. Number 33. Your captain.
This is Bockers Beat with Jeff Haber.
And now, please welcome your New York Knicks.
It is Bockers Beat. I'm your host, Jeff Haber, and we're going to talk Knicks. But first, big announcement. We are now on iHeartRadio. So if you got the iHeartRadio app, just search Bockers Beat. If you don't have the app, make sure to download the iHeartRadio app, and you can listen to us there. You can also listen to us on Twitter, Spreaker, YouTube, SoundCloud. We're on all of those. Just search Bockers Beat. Very excited to have my guest on today because he has had an experience very few Knicks fans get to have. And he's an average Joe, just like you and me. But he has sat courtside multiple times at Knicks games. I like to call him Big Brother Ben. Welcome to the show, Ben Pitts. How you doing?
Yo, Jeff. How you feel?
I'm good. How are you?
I'm great, bro.
Yeah?
New York is good. Cold. I mean, it's Knicks season, so I'm happy.
Yeah. Now, normally we record this podcast on the weekend and then release it the following Monday, but I got a lot of family stuff going on in New York, celebrating my grandfather's 90th birthday, so I'm busy this weekend, and we're taping this on Thursday, so this is the day before their game against the Warriors. It is October 25th, and the Knicks are 1-4. Probably 1-5 after tomorrow, but are you still happy?
1-4, right.
At the time of
Have the Lakers won a game yet?
I don't know. Let's find out. I don't think so, but they haven't played 5 games like we have.
Okay, well, I said I wasn't going to worry until the Lakers won a game.
They have not won a game this year.
Okay, so I'm not worrying yet, bro. I'm good. Gucci. They play tonight, though.
They do.
Against 4-0 Denver.
Dude, how surprising is Denver?
Denver's the powerhouse of the West, bro. I could have told you that.
All right, Ben, let's get to know you a little bit. Now, you're a filmmaker in New York City, correct?
Yes, correct.
What did you do? What did you do before filmmaking New York? You were Tracy Morgan's assistant, right?
I've been filmmaking for a long time, but for the last couple of years, I was working with Tracy Morgan and his company, Street Life Productions.
Very cool. Did you guys get to talk Knicks a lot?
Oh yeah, we talk Knicks every day. I mean, that was how I got the job. Basically, when I met with him, he asked me what teams I like. I told him I like the Knicks, and he sort of raised his eyebrows, like, I guess people must tell him that a lot, but as you and I know, I'm outspoken about the Knicks, so that only piqued his fascination. I
remember meeting Tracy through Big Boy's Neighborhood when I was producer there in L.A. And
Big Boy.
Big Boy? Hello.
Big Boy.
He came by, he was promoting something, I forget what, but this was after his crash and everything, and I was talking to Tracy about the Knicks, like, what do you think the Knicks are going to do? He's like, oh, they'll make the playoffs, 4 seed. And I'm like, no way, they'll be lucky to get an 8 seed, and they ended up just...
Yeah, Tracy and I share those sentiments every preseason.
Well, that's the great part about the preseason and before the season starts, that there's so much hope that anything could happen.
I think the Knicks lead the NBA in preseason hopes every year.
Yes, they do. It's kind of funny because even in the beginning of the season, even though we're 1-4, I still feel like there's a lot of hope. This team, besides what we've seen in the past week, they're very scrappy, they're very energetic, they're fast-paced, and they, for the most part, besides the game last night, are a fun team to watch.
Jeff, they're more than fun. I think the Knicks are going to be the 4th seed in the playoffs this year. On the East, and I'll tell you why. Okay?
Let's hear it.
First of all, Tim Hardaway Jr. has never looked better. Okay?
Yeah.
I mean, I know that's not saying much, but the guy's out here dropping 30 points. Am I wrong? Like, I have to look at the numbers, but I feel like he is really balling out there.
Yeah.
We got this rookie Trier who plays iso ball, which typically Knicks fans are a little hesitant about, but this dude is balling out there. Enes Kanter looks fucking great. And when we finally make that playoff push, then Porzingis comes back.
Yeah.
And we finish hard.
That is the most optimistic view of the Knicks I've ever heard. So when I say the game last night, I mean the game against the Heat. I mean, we can kind of assume they're going to get blown out by the Warriors. Like, we could probably play that off and say that they got blown out without knowing it and pretend like this taped after the Warriors game. But we'll stay true. We'll stay true and say...
well, look, I mean, the other ones haven't been blowouts.
Right.
We got a big W at home against the trash Hawks. And, I mean, honestly, the Hawks have a lot of talent, too. And it's always disappointing losing to Brooklyn, but who's to say that, we could have beat Boston. And,
right.
And we probably couldn't have beaten Milwaukee. But as I'm looking at the schedule now after Golden State, I don't see why we can't win a lot of these games.
That's the feeling I've had with just the entire team and every game, like even especially when they went toe-to-toe with Boston, without Kevin Knox, mind you, there's this feeling of, well, we could beat everyone. And I said this in the last week's podcast. My feeling week one was like, this team's good. Let's go. Let's take on the Warriors in the finals. Like, this team's ready.
I'm really behind Tisdale also. I feel like he is the coach. Granted, I've admittedly said this a couple of times in the last few years, but I feel like he's really the coach that is going to take us forward instead of backwards.
Yeah, and I'm with you on that, where I've said that about a lot of coaches too. We said that about Phil Jackson, and
sure.
We said that a lot, but it's different with Fitz. It's different. There's a different energy. There isn't this kind of...
It like a different energy.
It's not boring. Like, Hornacek was boring, and he was just an average coach. And Fitzdale, there's energy to him. He gets into the games more than we've seen other coaches do. The way he talks to the players, he just has this kind of brotherly love with all these players in the NBA and all the guys on the team. You see him joking around in the game with Kanter and guys on the team, and it's refreshing to see that. You never saw Hornacek do it. You never saw Mike Woodson do it. You know what I mean?
Exactly. And the way that we're sitting right now, if the idea from the smart sports analyst was that the Knicks were going to tank this season, I think that that's not the case anymore. Like, we could really win a few games. Also, just want to say, I was excited previously about Mario Hezonja, and that dude is living up to expectations. He has got some game. Granted, it's another iso ball player, and the play sort of stops with him, but he's out there. Like, he looks good. And I didn't realize that he got drafted right behind Porzingis. Yeah,
I didn't know that until I was watching last night's game, and Clyde brought it up. And I was like, wait, he was drafted 5th after Porzingis?
That's wild.
There was so much hype that he was the next Kobe Bryant. He was Croatian Kobe.
Much hype. I remember big hype.
But you remember that whole Magic team, and this is the whole part of what Scott Perry did. That whole Magic team was a bunch of athletic players who didn't mesh well. And they didn't mesh with Oladipo. They didn't mesh Payton. Mario was part of that. And now with Mario look what happened. Oladipo goes to a new team and he flourishes. That could be Mario. We're seeing him...
It really could be. I think Mario Hezonja is going to play himself in the starting lineup really quickly. I also am loving what Trey Burke is doing. And honestly, the verdict is still out for me on Ntilikina.
Okay.
But I like his defense, and I like that he grew in the offseason. Like, that's wild.
Yeah.
Is that a normal thing that people grow at that age?
When you're 19 years old, it is. Like, that, you forget.
19 years old?
You forget he just turned 20.
Right, that's right. But still, I wasn't growing at 20.
Yeah, I get that. Real quick, I want to go back to Mario for a second here.
Yeah, sure.
Because Knox is injured, so he stepped up, and that's kind of going to be something that happens with the Knicks. One guy goes down, another guy steps up. There's a lot of conversation, he doesn't play defense, but it's the NBA. Every team needs defenders, but there's always going to be guys who just put up points, and that's their job. The Michael Beasleys in the game, where it's okay if they don't play defense as long as the other 4 guys do. And Mario could be real good at being that guy who puts up points and grabs. There's no reason he can't average 15. And I know this is an optimistic view, but there's no reason he can't average 15 and 8 playing the power forward.
I would be very interested to see what would happen if he started and played really significant minutes, because I feel like he is a scorer, and that term gets sort of thrown around a lot, but he scores.
Right.
He whenever the ball's in his hands, you can tell that he's like figuring out the next angle. He always seems like sort of a reluctant passer, although apparently he's getting better at it. It's like I would love to just see him like just school some dudes. He's big.
Yeah. He's like 6'8".
Big body.
Yeah. He's 6'8", I think, 6'9", something like that.
We gotta start Mario Hezonja.
Yeah. Here's the other thing, though. If we start him, he's not playing defense against second-unit players, which is what he's been so far.
Good point.
So,
I didn't realize that's right.
And
he's playing second-unit players.
One of the issues with the Knicks is that they have so many guys who can score. Like, it's not like in that first unit. I mean, we have Hardaway, but then, like you just mentioned, Trey Burks, he's a scorer. Cantor scores in the post. We give it to him a lot down there. I don't think it's such a bad idea to have, like, Zoe and Mario in that second unit. Those are the guys scoring. Because if you put them in the starting lineup, it's like too many cooks in the kitchen. You know what I mean?
Totally.
If you go on Twitter, a lot of people think the Knicks are tanking. I have a conspiracy theory here. Hear me out on this.
Oh.
I don't believe this. It's just a thought I've had, is that maybe this team is secretly tanking. And what I mean by that is they're playing their hearts out, they're hustling, they're doing their best to win their games. It's just these guys aren't good enough. They don't have superstars in this team, right? That's why they're losing. But if you look at a lot of these games, I feel like it's always like one coaching situation that like could have gone different. Like against the Nets.
You're right. I mean, look, Jeff, if you're trying to say that there's a high conspiracy that the Knicks are taking these games, you're probably not wrong. I was telling my boys the other day that it would seem as though, if you wanted to look at this from another way, that the Knicks are cursed. Like
that is
some
like,
of these
they've been cursed.
That are made, and some of these shots that don't go in, that Enes Kanter's right by the basket, it's like, why didn't that go in? It's like any other team, that shot's going in. And
right.
Maybe that's just me being like a helpless Knicks fan, but it's just something is not right. And whether it's that the fix is in or that we're cursed, something is definitely amiss.
I like the word cursed because this is why I like that, because look at the game against the Nets. It's like, I felt like Frank should have been guarding Karras. That's my whole thing. I think Frank should have been guarding Karras. You know Karras is shooting that shot. Frank's our best defender. Why doesn't Fizdale make that switch? Okay, we end up losing that game. And then we have the game against Boston. Trey Burke gets fouled. And I felt like this is where I like you saying cursed. It's cursed that he misses that first free throw.
Exactly. And you know what? I bet you knew, just like I knew, that he wasn't going to make all this. There
was so much excitement when he got fouled. I'm like, oh my God, we're going to tie this game, and then our scrappy play is going to win us in overtime. And then he misses the first free throw, and I'm like, oh, right, we're the Knicks. He's supposed to miss that because we're the Knicks.
I thought to myself, okay, well, let's see what Fizz draws up here. I was like, I'm very interested to see what's about to happen. And then they go for that shot, and Trey Burke gets fouled. I was like, wow, that was a lucky foul. But... Oh, and it definitely wasn't what he drew up. So I'm thinking, all right, he's not going to make these three free throws. Exactly. It's like you said, it's the Knicks. It's like, of course he's going to miss the first one. It's like Trey Burke missing the first of 3 free throws to tie a game is the most Knicks thing you could ask for.
Right, exactly. And then we go to their third.
Not even the second free throw, the third one, the first one.
The very first one. Yeah. And, if we go to their third game, their third loss rather, against the Bucks, they come back from 19. It's exciting again. They're neck and neck.
Huge comeback.
And then
very exciting.
And then if you noticed, my brother brought this up. Every time the Bucks bring up the ball, Frank is guarding the ball handler. And every single time Brook Lopez sets a pick, and then he switches with Cantor. And then the Bucks guards just destroy Cantor. And then the Knicks end up losing by double digits. It's like, come on.
Right.
Fitz has to see that and tell the guys, hey, don't switch. Let Frank fight over the screen.
Coaching. It's very questionable.
It's like one little thing. And then the Heat. The game against the Heat, this was their first game they were leading after the first quarter. And I even tweeted out from the Bockers Beat Twitter account, follow us on Twitter, with our hustle, we should beat a team like the Heat. There's no reason we should lose to the Heat. And then it all just crumbled. I don't know what, that third quarter where the Knicks decided to stop playing defense and then they just got blown out. It just kind of felt like, to me, where I'm just like, all right, this is not the fun team we've seen. Something's definitely wrong here. And
You're so right. It was a totally different team in the second half than in the first half and the other 3 games.
My one takeaway from the Heat loss is